Although this week's Amphibia episodes definitely skewed more towards the comedic side than the world-building lore side, these latest two adventures still managed to squeeze the aforementioned in, while remaining on track, delivering 11 minutes of pure absurdity, with another 11 minutes of Sprig being the most relatable character, as this episode was all about his ADHD. As always, we're going to run through the details I found most interesting, and even do a little bit of speculating, especially when it comes to what exactly Andrias is cooking up. Of course, spoiler warning, if you are not caught up with Amphibia, please go catch up and then come back. With all that said, let's dive in. Starting at Lost in Newtopia, the episode manages to get us all riled up with just the first establishing shot, which reveals the mysterious robotic frog following the planters has made it to the outskirts of Newtopia. Although it appears it may have stopped for a rest, admiring the view, surrounded by birds and covered in a little bit of dookie. Now I gotta say, it is interesting if the robot frog took a moment to just take in his surroundings, because it felt like a very planter thing to do. In fact, it is something they do when they first arrive. I only throw that out there because, of course, instead of a proper disc, the machine within the robot factory was fed Hop Hop's rules of the road, which may have had some effects on this robot's behavior. Considering this robot is so close to the planters, it feels like we're due to get a plot revelation soon in regards to him or her. We don't know anything about this robot. All in all, fantastic way to start the episode, as the planters set out sightseeing on a tour bus, which reminded me of a family trip to New York a few years ago, where my family also got on a tour bus and was also bored to tears. And Anne connects the tour to times in her childhood running errands with her mother, who, if I didn't know any better, judging off the credits, was voiced by Matt Brawley's actual mother, which I found to be a really neat touch. It's cool that they kind of went the extra mile and allowed it to feel that much more organic. I'm sure this could have been akin to an actual conversation Matt had with his mother growing up. Anne's mom is the splitting image of her, and since the credits list her as Mrs. Boonchoy, I have to ask, is there a Mr. Boonchoy in the picture? Not in the I'm trying to date a fictional character kind of way, unless we're talking about Amelia from Infinity Train. Jokes! But more so, what is Anne's dad like? Oddly enough, Amphibia manages to get me excited seeing Earth, even though it's a lot less exciting than Amphibia itself, and I hope we get more flashbacks to come. At one point, Anne is unable to read the menu off of a food stand, tying into the previous episode where Marcy asked if Anne was able to read ancient Amphibian runes. I'm kinda hopeful that there will be some sort of alphabet for Amphibian language, and it's cool that, much like any city you can encounter on this green Earth, a lot of signs were written in English with the native language written underneath. However, that also makes me wonder, why? As much of a neat detail this is, it also feels as if it serves as another tease, questioning the mystery of Amphibia's connection to Earth. Hell, why the inhabitants of Amphibia speak English could also very well tie into that answer. It could also mean nothing, like how the gems in Steven Universe speak English despite them having their own gem language, but considering all the setup thus far, it's something I felt was worth putting out there. One of the stores in Newtopia is Tails R Us, where Anne and Polly purchase their own tails because they don't have one. Well, Polly has her tadpole tail, but you get what I'm going for. However, for the average newt, I'm kind of interested in the various reasons people could have to consult this store in the first place. Are replacement tails commonplace? If you're in an accident and your tail has to be amputated, do you head to Tails R Us to get a new one, serving as a prosthetic of sorts? To sort of reiterate my last point, this could just be a neat detail, something they found to be a cool gag, but I'm curious, and when it comes to Newtopia, I want to learn everything. Lastly, Marcy and Andrias find a hidden pathway to an underground library wing immediately after finishing the last book in the archive. Is Andrias genuine in his surprise, or is he stringing Marcy along? Again, carrying ulterior motives underneath. Personally, I'm starting to suspect that, in a not totally sinister context, Andrias is kinda making Marcy and Anne follow along an adventure that he's orchestrating. Hence, let the games begin. Maybe he is an antagonist, but one who has oddly good intentions, although he still may benefit in ways that put others at harm. Could you imagine if Andrias' end goal was uniting the three girls together and making their friendship stronger, making them not just skilled, competent warriors, but a trio who shares a genuine friendship? And you may be skeptical of this, which is understandable, but I still suspect Andrias' anticipation of Anne's arrival in Newtopia has some sort of correlation with that that mural at the end of the theme song. He knows Marcy's all about adventure and video games and D&D, so he thought, hey, I know where the information really could be, but for Marcy's sake, and to not look totally sketch, I'm going to ensure she stumbles upon it by complete accident with little guidance on my end. Also, the door Marcy and Andrias enter features a depiction of the door with a singular eye, which in itself feels like a promise of higher knowledge, clarity, the truth. I would not be surprised if information on the relationship between Earth and Amphibia is also present in this hidden pathway, and I cannot wait to see where this all goes. But that takes us to Sprig Gets Schooled, another fun episode that features a focus on Sprig's ADHD, a detail that was confirmed about Sprig in a recent AMA hosted by Matt Brawley on the Amphibia subreddit. An interesting piece of information is that none of the planters have been to college, and Hop Hop's dream is that one day, in the far future, one of the children he cares for will attend. I related to a lot in this episode, honestly, when it comes to ADHD, and just how difficult, if not straight up unpleasant, school can be. Also, Polly's remark that Sprig doesn't have the attention span for school really got me. Working with ADHD, it's tough. And when it comes to college, a higher level of responsibility that you're in control of, you have to keep tabs on, and if you forget a single thing, then you can find yourself in a major setback. Yeah, although I wasn't a part of it for long, and I went to a community college, I personally believe that if you're not well organized, which is a problem for obvious reasons but can be managed, you are not gonna want to be there. There's also a brief focus on Sprig's many talents, as he's described as resourceful, survivor savvy, and athletic. Things that are not only all true, but feels just a little bit rewarding, as these are traits that have really been fleshed out throughout the series. It calls to attention things that have already been present in plain sight, in a way that makes you go, yeah, that's my boy. Sprig ultimately struggles in applying his skill set in an environment strictly for learning and completing assignments. Another thing I could relate to, because even when you find a topic interesting, you may just be a hands-on learner. You perform your best when you're actually doing something, and you may not exactly want to follow directions, and instead want to cut straight to the exciting part. One of the courses Sprig partakes in is alchemy, with Sprig in the middle of a science lab that involves the creation of a potion. Considering this is the second time we've seen a demonstration of this sort of magic, first being in Marcy's proper debut, I think this show is gearing us up for magic to become a bigger component of the story, as teased by Matt Brawley in the aforementioned AMA. I'll try to remember to throw a link in the description. The last big detail I want to cap off this breakdown on is that Newtopia University has a high level of security and defense system, which is revealed to be for the safety of the students, not to keep them in, but to keep trouble out. This security measure even has weevils. The professor further explains being located in the city means the attraction of some dangerous oddballs. And this detail in general felt like setup for Grime and Sasha's impending invasion on Newtopia, wanting to storm the capital and overthrow the king. I'm not sure that invasion would include storming Newtopia University, but at the same time, knowing the Toads and any other allies they could round up, everything could spiral into insanity really fast. But also, if the university has this kind of defense system, I would imagine other prominent locations, especially the castle, would be beefed up with just as much, if not more security. As I always say though, I guess time will tell. And this episode ends on what's actually a great message. College isn't for everyone. And yeah, when it comes to creative fields, like working in animation, a lot of places just want to make sure you have the skill and that you can be a team player, that you have something to contribute to the team. And considering how crazy the world is right now, especially in the United States, I know from Retro Nemo and other friends that schools are pretty hectic right now, to say the least. Classes are online, or people can only be on campus, but with a lot of restrictions that make you wonder, oh, why don't you just switch to online aside from the obvious factor of money? So for animation fans in particular, who are either starting college, or in the middle of college, or even about to graduate college, and they're not really sure what to do, if they should take a semester off, if they should just grind and get their degree, if they even should continue with school, I'm glad this episode came out at probably the perfect time to just say, hey, college isn't for everyone, so we're not saying you shouldn't go, But if you end up not going, that's cool. I know some parents will disagree, but actually no, yeah, that's it. I know some parents will disagree. But as always, these are just my thoughts and I want to hear yours. What do you think? What were your thoughts in this episode? Which segment did you find more interesting? Are there any details I missed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at Fox. We're also on Instagram. Help the Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Fox, signing out.